Hi guys, thanks for joining. My daughter is in the back. Segula, say hi. Say hi. Uh-huh. Okay. All right. Bye. Let's do this. So, I'm just gonna try to have some fun with this one. Nothing serious. Hi, Kofi. Oh, thanks for joining, bro. I hope you can hear me. I hope you can hear me. How's it going, brother? Guys, I'm thinking of quitting the lives. Because it's like really, really stressful. Oh, thanks. You can hear me. So yeah, I'm thinking of quitting the lives, bro. It's really, really stressful to spend like, 2 hours on Fridays. I could, I could put that time into like family time and stuff. So yeah, I'm just wondering if I should just quit this stuff and maybe just focus on doing like YouTube videos instead. I also haven't been getting as much traction, so just wondering if it's really worth my time. Yeah, thank you for understanding. Well, I'll let you know. I'll let you guys know when I make up my mind if I'm going to quit. I thought I'll be able to reach up to 100 before stopping, but I'm just on 23. Oh, interesting. Today is actually 23rd of January, and I'm on the 23rd. This is 23rd. No, this should be 22nd. Yeah, this is 22nd. Okay. I think the structured videos that you make are also awesome. You could do live once in a while, so not to stress. Yeah, thank you. I think that's probably what I'll do. But at least I can say that I did 22 videos or 20 something videos before I quit, so that's a lot. Mr. Coffee, what's the plan for the weekend? I don't know if I should. Okay, I should speak. Should be in Senegal. I don't know when he's going to be in Ghana. If he gets to Ghana, try to are you going to try to hook up, or try to meet him or find out where he is or something? Even though meeting him, man, is so difficult. I think at this point he's just interested in showcasing Africa. He's not really thinking about collab, like any type of special meet with anybody, which is good because there's too many people in Africa. There's no way he's going to be able to meet everybody. He has to be more strategic, and that's what he's trying to do. Yeah, this one is ugly. It's really, really ugly, but let me see if I can fix it. Yeah, he's very elusive. You can't plan on it. Yeah, can't plan on meeting with that guy at all. Yeah, millions of people want to meet with him at the same time, so it's almost impossible unless you have like some type of connection, like personal connection or business connection or something. Yeah, he's doing a great job. He's doing a great job. And the funny thing is, people like Wodemaya have been doing this stuff. Like Wodemaya has been doing this stuff for a long time. Wodemaya has been showcasing Africa for years now. So Speed is not the first person. I remember I used to watch Wodemaya a lot during the pandemic. Wodemaya is an icon. Yeah, Wodemaya is an icon. It's an icon. I heard they've given him like the Ghanaian government has given him like a what do you call that thing? Like a diplomatic passport. So he now has a diplomatic passport to travel to any country in Africa because he was having issues traveling around Africa. Yeah, that's another thing too. So what's Speed is enjoying now, Wodemaya, was really suffering from the problem of moving around because Speed has an American passport, so it's easier for him to move around Africa, which is really ironic because how can foreigners be able to move around Africa better than Africans? So, but yeah, I'm happy for the Maya. Thank God that the government has recognized him properly. And that's what says Speed. Apart is that he streams consistently, so he always has a lot of eyes. Yeah, yeah. Speed has this. It was interesting because I was watching a video on TikTok and someone talked about this backpack that he carries about. And that backpack is actually what streamers use when they are in motion. And that thing has Starlink and all of that inside of it. It might have been recognized. Yes, sounds awesome. It's just funny that African nations are not enabling local creators the way that they ought to, because people like Wodemaya, they are more, Wodemaya shouldn't be the only person that they should be giving a diplomatic passport. They should allow, there are certain people like, I don't know if you've heard of Charity AKZ. She's a friend of mine too. She's really good. Like, she's always, she's, she always advocates for Africa. She uses sarcasm to advocate for Africa. So it'd be nice to give them this kind of stuff. Once a person attains a certain level, it should just be automatic, like just give them. Because I mean, you're not even paying them for, the government is not paying them anything to publicize Africa. They're doing it out of passion and their love for Africa. So since you're not paying them, it shouldn't cost you anything to just give them a diplomatic passport. And they're doing free publicity for your country, so it's a no-brainer. I don't know why. Anyway, I think, at least now Wodemaya has it, he can be an example, for other countries. So Ghana is ahead. And that's one thing I like about Ghana. Ghana is very forward thinking. I mean, they're the ones that started the whole, what's that thing called? Year of return. So Ghana is ahead of the curve when it comes to, Ghana is ahead of Nigeria, like, to be honest, when it comes to this thing. In Nigeria, we call it Jakpada, but Ghanaians, they call it return. I think year of return. And the funny thing is, year of return was like probably like 2021 or something, or 2020. It's a long time ago. Okay, not too long ago, but yeah. Meanwhile, Nigerians are still running, like doing Japan and running away. Ghanaians are already talking about coming back. It's amazing. A lot of respect for Ghana. Shout out, shout outs. Man, this drawing is very ugly, but I don't care. At this point, I don't care. I'm not trying to make it perfect stuff. I'm just hanging out and chatting and yeah, I'm not taking it seriously. End of the day, it's just another drawing for me. That's, yeah, it's gonna help me get better, but it's still just another drawing. I draw all the time, so if this one is bad, it's not gonna affect me too much. Yeah, I've returned. Yes. Mad respect to Ghana. Like mad respect. And when the Hollywood stars, they're actually going to Ghana. They're not really coming to Nigeria because Nigeria is not in that mind space. Nigeria is not ready to receive our foreign brothers, are not in that headspace at all. And Ghana is ahead. I just joined the daily practice or only on Friday. Yeah, these particular ones are only on Fridays. I do drawing regularly, but I don't paint them. I just sketch on my sketch pad, on my sketchbook. I have a, I use pencil. I like to study with pencil. Pencil and paper. I also be trying to, I also want to try to do different things. Like, I also want to try to do storyboarding too because, this, anything about storyboarding now is I need a license. I need a Toon Boom license, and the Toon Boom license is very expensive. Um, maybe sometime soon. I don't know how soon, but maybe another 2 or 3, another 2 months. I should be able to. I believe I should be able to afford it. 2, 3 months. I'll buy a Toon Boom license and try something different. Like, because I'm also a storyteller. Like, I'm also a writer. So doing only drawing, it's not. it's not ideal. I also have to be trying my hands on other things as well. So I know it's called Sketchathon, but yeah, I mean storyboarding is also sketching, so it can pass for Sketchathon. So um, yeah, Speed coming to Nigeria also had a lot of drama with it. Drama that I'm so not interested in because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, anything that doesn't move us forward as black people, where we're tearing each other down, I'm not interested in it. Talking about it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. By the way, I also wanted to shout out to Ryan Coogler for getting, I think, how many nominations did he get? I think it was about 10 or 12, I'm not sure. He had a lot of nominations this year for Sinners. I don't know if you guys have seen Sinners, man. That film is a masterclass. It was funny that I asked somebody, to watch Sinners, and he watched it and was like, he didn't enjoy the film. Some other person to say the same thing. I'm like, yo, what are you guys consuming? How can you say you don't like? I mean, everybody's taste is different, but for me, if you're really a story head and you are a film, like you're really into film, man, trust me, you have to love. There's nothing wrong about Sinners at all. That film is so good. Yeah, I remember a storyboard story from June. Yeah, 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 that's true. And the storyboard, yeah, you know what? That's actually not a bad idea to do some film studies. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I think I'll probably do that. It's been a while. So yeah, thank God for. I'm really happy for what's his name? Ryan Coogler. I hope he wins. He wins because it's not just, being nominated sometimes is not everything. Like, he needs to win. At least best director. He needs that, man. The kind of directors I like are the ones who know how to write. You know, if for me, like, I model after people who can, like, directors who can write, because there's just something about there's just something about the combination of being able of writing and directing that just takes you to the author status. Like, it just takes you to the highest level, and that's what I really like. It's what I like about people like Ryan Coogler, Christopher Nolan, Guillermo del Toro, um, Alejandro Inarritu, um, Coralie Fargas. Coralie Fargas is, I don't know if you guys have seen The Substance. Yo, that film. Woo. That film was fire, man. I think The Substance, it came out in 2022. It's a 2022 film, I think. 2022 or 2024. I think it's 2024. Yo, that film. And yeah, I know I'm in animation, but bro, story to me, storytelling is storytelling. Doesn't matter if it's animation or not. In fact, I even like more live action than animation. It's, to me, it's only anime that tends to push to that point of to that to the what's the word I'm looking for, to the point of they tend to push their films artistically, anime, and then some of these writer directors. The Substance is a great film, man. I love The Substance. That film is really good. The and you could tell that the director of that film, Coralie, you could tell that she was inspired by people like Stanley Kubrick. Because if you watch that film, you see some elements in The Shining, in 2021 Space Odyssey. Like, you see some of those Stanley Kubrick classical film techniques. To me, these are like, bro, if I could switch careers right now, I'll be a live action director. Trust me, like, I love live action. I know that I don't like anime or animation. I still like animation, but man, live action is just something else. I like animation. The reason I like animation is, well, the reason that most people like it for is that the possibilities are endless. And I mean, if you look at, for example, the live action version of Lion King versus Lion King, the original Lion King, you can see why animation is its own thing. That's why I like animation. For its animation is just it's its own medium. Like, it's a form of storytelling that is not necessarily superior to live action, but it has its own value, or should I say its own perks. Anime, yeah. See, I like anime, but to be honest, like, I actually like old anime, not the recent one. There are only very few recent ones that I really like. I like Cyberpunk, Edge Runners. Well, I watch mostly the old ones, the Angel's Egg, Evangelion, Akira, Gundam, the old ones, Cowboy Bebop. Yeah. Oh, thank you very much, bro. Live action, yeah. Like even my storyboards look like live action more than animation. I think I'm more of a live action person. Thank you, bro. Yeah, very soon, man. I'm going to direct a film, a live action. I'm going to direct one. But I like people like Guillermo de Toro because he's proven to us that you can do live action and animation as long as the story is appropriate for it. Because I feel like there's some stories that are just appropriate for animation. Yeah, I think there's some stories that are just appropriate. But yo, I would like to try. I'm going to try and live action. Definitely. Live action. Yeah, and Miyazaki too is also a legend. And I know a lot of people say they like Miyazaki, but the thing I like about the guy's work is that he has a way of he knows how to make boring moments look picturesque. Like he can just be like the shots can just be on a blooming plant or not even a blooming plant, maybe like a a plant that is wavering in the wind, and you know that that shot is very important, and you feel the moment of like you're the one actually staring at that plant. Like that's the thing about he knows how to make ordinary moments look magnificent. Like it draws you to ordinary moments. His highest when become yeah, Kofi, no problem, man, no problem. Let's keep the dream alive first. Let's see how let it happen first. When we get to that bridge, then yeah, we'll carry all the necessary talents, on board. We'll get all the necessary talents on board. Happy New Year, bro, Deji. Happy New Year. I thought we've not communicated this year. I thought we communicated this year already. Yeah. How is Deji? How is work? I know used to talk about how you had to stay off work to be able to join the live. So how is your work? I hope your work is going well. Okay. And I'm also even thinking about I'm going to do a course for writing, like why writing is important for artists. I'm going to do a course, but not now. Like I'm thinking about like I've been thinking about it, but I'm waiting for the right time. I don't like to rush because for some people it's like a cash grab thing, but for me, I'm not trying to grab cash. I'm just trying to. That's why I rather wait for the right time. So I'm going to do a course to help artists to up their writing game so that they can be able to take those ideas that they have. Because I'm sure a lot of artists have ideas that they are probably scared or lazy to develop. Not because they don't want to, but they are kind of afraid. Like, ah, man, do I need to learn how to write so well? So It'd be nice to do something to encourage, to help artists. It'll be for only artists. It won't be for like writers. I mean, writers are free to join, but I'll tailor it for only artists. Like tailor it for artists. Yeah. Miyazaki is a master. Yeah. Have you ever thought of developing your own? Of course, bro. And if so, what would it be about and where, when would it be set? So, of course I've thought about it, bro. Like, like I like how you ask this question because it's a no-brainer, my brother. Like, of course I've thought about IP, like, and I'm currently working on two of them. So one is okay. I think I mentioned this one before. Like, I'm working on my own short film, directing the short film. Then also another one is going to be a graphic novel. The plan is to do like a Kickstarter campaign later this year for that one. I'm currently developing it. And for me, man, storytelling, like creating an IP, has to live in different mediums and different formats. It has to be, there's something called transmedia. It has to have transmedia potential. So you, but when you're developing your IP, you're thinking about how it can become a video game. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I think everybody here, I think you guys already know this, but for those people out there who don't know, like when you're developing an IP, it's advisable to think about it as something that can live in different forms. A video game, a graphic novel, a coloring book, a toys, you have to think about all of that. And these are things that I'm going to put in that course. Like, I'm going to do a proper course for artists. And yeah, so let me tell you the kind of stories I like to tell. I like to tell stories that are sets that help to emancipate black people, like emancipate people generally, like mentally. So I'm interested in not necessarily cerebral or complex themes, but something that helps to free people, something that is basically about human consciousness and our responsibility as humans on the earth. Not just to the earth, but also to ourselves as human beings. Those are the kind of stories I like to tell. And I mean, I believe you guys already know this, but stories are not necessarily about the action or the external conflicts. Stories are actually the internal conflicts. So what's happening inside of the character's head is really what the story is about. That's why the philosophical component, and I mean, artists, we have to know different things. We have to know philosophy, we have to know current affairs, we have to know politics, because some of all these things will show in your work when you write. So you may not address them directly. As a matter of fact, if you address them directly, it will turn people off. So you have to find allegories and palatable ways to present these ideas, but you have to be very current and aware of things. Not just be current, but also be able to exercise your mind as a futurist, to think ahead. Like, where do you think the world is going to? You know, like the story, the graphic novel I'm developing is set in a dystopian type of future, and I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to give away, a lot of like what the story is about. But it's set in a dystopian future, and I already thought about how the future would be if you take things too far in terms of technological development. So we have to think. It's almost like Black Mirror, that Black Mirror type of thing. If you look at Black Mirror and the success of Black Mirror, you know, if you think about it, most of the things that are happening today are like Black Mirror. But we live in a Black Mirror society, but how were they able to think about it at the time they're writing? Because the first Black Mirror season was probably like 7 years ago, I think. Yeah, probably like 7, 8 years ago. So how did they think? How did the writers think ahead? Some people might say some of these writers have some type of association with Illuminati and all those things. Me, I don't believe in that, to be honest. I'm not saying that the Illuminati doesn't exist, but I believe in code. Let me tell you what I believe. So let me explain it like this. I believe that there is an ether. There's a creative ether where ideas are floating, like in in an invisible space. Like ideas are latent, like they are in an invisible realm, right? And we artists, because of how emotionally sound we are able to connect. We are the only kind of people that can connect to that thing and tap into that thing. So an artistic mind, and when I say an artistic mind, it doesn't necessarily mean that the person is an artist that they draw and paint. I'm just saying that an artistic mind is the only type of mind that can tap from that creative ether, you know. So the creative ether exists, and people tap into that creative ether. These writers, they tap into. By the way, I think writing is the most superior form of creativity. By the way, so but anyway, let's leave that. So creative artists tap into that creative ether and they pull stuff from there. Because artists are like conduits. That's where I see that. I believe I'm a conduit. So like God uses people like us, like artists, to be able to pass messages across to humanity in palatable forms, in forms that so when we are consuming it, it's entertaining, but you're not aware that an idea is forming in your head. It's almost like an inception, like Inception. I don't know if you guys have seen Inception. It's almost like Inception. You're watching something and you're being entertained, but at the same time, seeds are being sown into your mind about what society is about and where we're going and all of that. What life, how better life can be, So that's basically what storytelling is about. Because when we watch the news, we listen to the news, whether it's on TikTok or on mainstream media, it's for us to be aware of what's going on in society and how we can live a better life. So that's basically what storytelling is altogether. So we artists, we are tapping into that creative ether. So when you see, that's why if you look very well, so let me give you an example of this thing I'm trying to say. Eyes of Wakanda, for example, and what's the name of that show? Predator, Killer of Killers. There were some scenes in Eyes of Wakanda and Predator, Killer of Killers that were exactly the same. Not exactly the same in the sense of, the same character and all, but the sequence, like the way the storyboarding or the cinematography was done, the animation is almost like the same. So I was watching this show, Predator Killer of Killers. I'd already watched Eyes of Wakanda. I'm like, how did this? Is it the same? It's clearly not the same artist, because how did the storyboard artist know to do this type of shots? And then this other guy did it. It's not just one scene. Like there were like 3 to 5 scenes in both Eyes of Wakanda and Predator Killer of Killers that were similar in terms of like the sequence, like the protagonist, the character sequence, action sequence. And to me, the reason why that kind of thing can happen is a coincidence, a creative coincidence. And creative coincidences happen like that because of that creative ether that I'm talking about. The artists, they tapped into that creative. That's where the whole idea of zeitgeist. You can Google the word zeitgeist to find the meaning. That's where zeitgeist comes from. All of a sudden you just see that everybody's leaning in the same direction. If you listen to music from the 90s, they all sound similar. If you listen to music from the early 2000s, similar, or in the 2000s, similar. Music of nowadays, similar, even though I don't like them, but you get what I'm saying. And yeah, there's cycles and all of that, but the whole idea of this whole thing is when somebody says, oh, Illuminati, this one, I don't, yes, there could be some people with nefarious plans, some writers with nefarious plans. I'm not ruling that out, but I think more often than not, some of these things are coincidences. They are creative coincidences because artists are able to tap into that creative ether. That's my own understanding of these things. And at this point, I feel like I'm boring you guys with like this long lecture of the philosophy of things. Okay, so let me just round this one up. And yeah, so telling the story, like the kind of stories I want to tell us, stories that enlighten people, stories that are enlightening and entertaining also. I think that what we're seeing today in Hollywood, the reason why Hollywood is crawling at the moment in terms of storytelling is in terms of box office success and all is because of that storytelling. The storytelling part is really, really suffering. Somebody said that it looks like the stories we see nowadays is almost like ChatGPT wrote it, and it's true. Like I wrote my short film, I wrote that story, and after writing that story, I'm like, dude, ChatGPT cannot write this thing. ChatGPT cannot write this story because, first of all, where does ChatGPT want to get ideas of our Africa that are on the level of what I've written? They can't get you can't get it, and even if you could get it, it doesn't have that lived experience I have to be able to combine all these different plots, themes, motifs, um, characters, themes together in the way that I did it. Like how I like how you philosophize. My brother, philosophy is very important though. Artist channel from the unseen dimension. Yeah, artist channel from the unseen dimension. And brother, philosophy is important too. We have to think. You can't create deep stuff you can't create things that move people without thinking. There's philosophy behind everything. Even in character design, I use philosophy because I remember teaching you guys in the master class about the technique I called character method design. Method design is getting into the psyche of the character. So philosophy is very, very important. Like if you don't understand philosophy, you can't write without philosophy anyway. If you don't value philosophy in writing, you might be able to write, action sequences that are really cool, and but it will just be surface level stuff that gets people high at the on the moment, but afterwards it doesn't, it just flies. It flies by. They forget about it. They're easily forgettable. But philosophical things, that's why I said internal conflict is really story. That's really what story is, because that's the thing. The external conflict is where the entertainment is. Um that's where the high octane action sequences, the explosions, VFX, and all of that. That's where you get to see that. Which is important because you cannot even dramatize internal conflicts without external conflict. So you need externalization to be able to dramatize what is happening internally. So external is important, but that internal is more important, because if there's no internal stuff, it's just going to be another Rambo film or another, high octane, Fast and Furious type of film. And that's one of the problems I have with shows like that, because most people that don't understand awards, or they don't understand art, they usually like, man, how come how come this box office movie like that made so much money, like Transformers, Fast and Furious, how come we didn't win an award? How can it win an award? Because winning an award is beyond. It's not what excites people. It's not the external. It's the internal. If you look at the films that win Oscars, that's why Oscars is not. It is a standard, but to me, it's not necessarily the standard, because whether you win an Oscar or not, it doesn't necessarily mean you're. It doesn't define who you are as a filmmaker, but it just goes. If you look at the maybe the early 2000s or films before 2015, because I think around that 2015, then the kind of films that are winning the Oscars were just kind of funny. But before 2015, the kind of films that are winning the Oscars, like, bro, it has to be internal. If there's no internal conflict in that thing, forget. And internal doesn't necessarily mean crying, because this is the problem. This is another problem that people have. It's that they don't understand story. They think internal dialogue, internal conflict means it means crying or something that makes people, when you say, oh, the movie was emotional or the movie lacks emotion, emotion doesn't mean crying. In fact, I used to say this thing that if you make a character, like, just because, like, for me, a character holding back tears is stronger than a character shedding tears. Because what is making you hold back those tears? To me, I feel like a character holding back, and that's, to me, I think that that's probably what informs acting as well, because acting is also still connected to all these things we're talking about, philosophy and writing and all. Because I believe that an actor knows, great actors know that it's not necessarily the tears coming out of the eye, it's you showing that you're trying to hold back those tears that moves us more. But anyway, if your character is just crying, if you start a story where your character is just crying, or if you just put us right in the middle of the emotion where the character is just crying without any premise, I don't care. To be honest, I don't care. Why is he or she crying? I don't understand. But what makes something emotional is the premise. When you understand why that person is crying, that's what makes it emotional. And most stories don't understand, they don't have the whys, they don't have, they try to shoehorn the emotional components inside the story. And, the shortcuts. Anyway, so yeah, I can't wait to, I would love to really do like a course for artists to help, so that we too can also start, because we're in the IP age, we're in an age where, IP is democratized. So people need to learn how to do it, and ChatGPT is not going to do it for you, as well as, I mean, it could do it, but guess what? ChatGPT is only going to give you the average stuff, because it's taking what everybody else has done and creating like an average. It's interpolating different pieces from what everybody else has created. So it's only going to give you what exists. But if you want to create something that is specifically for you, that taps into your heart, your core, as a human being, then we need to learn how to write properly. Oh, Jeffrey, man, thanks for joining, bro. Thanks for joining. So, man, bro, that's it, man. Writing is everything. We need to learn how to. And I said something. I think writing is the most superior form of creativity, because written words have. I mean, if you look at ancient words in scrolls that have lived through centuries, they were in written form. They're not necessarily in picture form. So written words have way. To me, I think they're more. Writing is more powerful than, because writing, you're actually creating something out of nothing. I mean, artists, we generally do that anyway. Like, we can create stuff out of nothing with drawings, but writing is just, it's just something about writing, because you're creating a world, you're creating life in letters. Like, so somebody reads the letters or reads the words, and then they are picturing the life inside of their head. Everything comes to life in their head. It's just something awesome. And the way, like, 100 people can read the same book and have different pictures in their heads about how that world exists to them. They just, like, to me, I think writing is just superior. It's way too superior. Pictures are great, but most of the times, um, writing is just more expansive. I think writing is way more expansive. So yeah, writing is really important. Like, we need to learn how to write, man. We need to learn how to write. I believe there's another space where ideas exist, and your skill level is your bridge from that world to this world. Access is literally you building a bridge from there to here. Yes, I agree. That space where ideas exist in skill level is yeah. I also believe in parallel universes. I believe there's a version of you that doesn't know how to draw. There's a version of you that can draw. There's a version of you that not only can draw, but is excellent at drawing. So, but the more you actually deceive or trick your mind into believing that you're that person, then you start to align. That universe starts to become you start to align with that parallel version of yourself. I believe in parallel universes. Let me tell you another reason why I believe in parallel universes. And yeah, this is my faith. I'm not trying to impose my faith on anybody because I'm a Christian, but the reason I believe parallel universes exist is because the Bible said God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, which means that God is inside yesterday. Like God is in the yesterday, is in the today, and is in tomorrow. So it means that if for some reason you are able to travel back in time, God is still God inside of that yesterday that you've traveled to, and God is still the God in the future if you travel to that future. So I believe he's the same. Like God exists. God exists, is superior. God is supreme in every version of time at the same time. I'm a brother. This is my please of this waxing philosophically whole drawing is very inspiring. Yeah, yeah. I'm just my brother. Philosophy is very important. Let me see if I can do on that drawing because I feel like I'm talking too much. Even though I think the talk is interesting. Let's see what I can. Let me do something else. Okay, I like this lady. Nope, not feeling this. I'm gonna draw it again. Exactly. It's the same reason why even though games like FIFA or NBA 2K considered the highest grossing games, they will never win. Yeah. GTOY, GOTY, GOTY. Is it? What's GOTY? I thought you were saying God of War. GOTY. I'm not sure I know what GOTY is. The camera flipped, or I also left hand. Oh man, sorry, I'm not left-handed. I think I flipped the camera because I'm used to seeing myself in mirror form. Yeah, I'm gonna flip it. Let me see if I can flip it back. Let me see if I can flip it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let me see. I'm not fitting this drawing. Let's do another one. if you guys are really interested in starting your writing journey, I can recommend some books if you're interested. Oh, Game of the Year, that's what it means. Oh, sorry, I didn't get the code. I'm very what's it called? Millennial for that. And it's something else I also want to talk about that I see going on, and I feel like it's an opportunity. It's a huge opportunity that if you take this writing thing seriously the way I'm saying it, because now I know I'm preaching at this point because I've made too much of an emphasis on it. But if you take your writing seriously and give yourself time that you want to become very good, like you want to take your writing to the next step, or you want to start your writing journey, I guarantee you that in the next, because where the world is going now is, first of all, I see something happening in Hollywood where a lot of people have opportunities, and when they get to create their own films, I look at it and these films lack the action might be fantastic, the direction, the production design on point. The thing that always lacks most times, not all the time, but most times, is story. Like they might have the best fight sequences, the best camera cinematography, the best character design, the best production design, the sets, environment, props, everything's on point. 3D modeling, look dev, lighting, everything is fantastic. Animation, but you see the thing that I feel that usually causes that whenever I'm watching these things, I'm like, ah, bro, you mean you spend all this time, you hire the best hands in production design, but you didn't, you you dropped the bar, or you fell my hand because you actually missed the mark in writing. Like, how did you hire the best artists on everything else except writing? Why? And I see this happen most time. Like it keeps happening. Like the fast fight sequence is fantastic, but the story is just. And I think I'm guessing that part of the reasons why is because good writing takes time. Like I doubt. I don't know. I mean, I'm not the best writer in the world, but I know that to write a very good story takes at least a year in any form, whether it is in short story format or full length feature film, TV series. It takes at least a year to write anything good. If you're writing anything less than a year, I guarantee you that thing is going to be crap. It's going to be crap. Unless it's coming from a seasoned writer who has had enough time marinating, like the idea has marinated in the person's head for some time. But writing is a process. Writing is not I just sit down and from beginning to end I tap from fade in to fade out at the end of the story and in one sitting. Okay, maybe not necessarily one sitting, but continuously. And then your first draft is your final draft. No, it doesn't work like that. Writing is a process. The same way I think that whether it's creating characters, environments, or whatever, art generally is a process. You know, so this is the problem I have, and this is why I'm saying this thing because there is a gap. You know how, yeah, I'm back to my faith again, but I don't know if you guys know this story in the Bible where Moses sent out some spies. Moses sent out spies to go to Canaan to spy the land, and those spies came back, and 10 of them, except for Joshua and Caleb, were like, yo, there were giants in that land. Like the land is so like things are good in the land, but the giants are so big. I doubt that we can never go to this place because the giants saw us as grasshoppers, and we are sure that in their own eyes, Like we saw ourselves as grasshoppers, and we are sure that in the eyes of the giants, they also saw us as grasshopper. You know, but out of those 12, two people, Joshua and Caleb, they looked and like, nah, bro, what are you guys saying? This land, we can take these guys. They are giants, yes, but we see a weakness. We see an opportunity here. Bro, I said that story to tell you that there is a weakness right now in Hollywood, and that weakness is story. If you get your story right, I guarantee you that, like when I say get your story right, if you give yourself 1 or 2 years to polish your knowledge of story, of writing, I guarantee you that in the next 10 years, because what we do now, we have to be strategic, in whatever it is that we are doing, so that we position ourselves for the next 10 to 15 years. It might even be more than that. If you polish your writing skills within the next 2 years, I guarantee you that you're positioning yourself for the next 20 to 30 years. That's how I've seen it. I've meditated on this thing. I've thought about it, and I know that if you are not thinking about writing right now, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. So because I'm seeing, and I don't want to call names because these are people that I respect. I'm seeing a lot of great people doing stuff out there, making films, creating stuff in different formats. And when I consume this thing, I'm always let down. Like I look at this thing, I'm like, man, this thing looks so good. It's so polished. Like the directing is fantastic. It's almost flawless. But the writing. And back to what I was saying about writing being superior. Do you realize that without the scripts, there's no job for anybody else down the line? If you look at the charts, the organogram of a studio or a project, the people who are at the top are usually the executive producers, the writer, and the director. The writer is high up there because without any script, nobody gets any work. Like without the script, the concept artist, there's no need to hire a concept artist. I mean, sometimes the concept artist also helps, to feed, because when he creates images, then the writer can use that as inspiration. But for the most part, man, the writing is way up there, and without writing, there's no storyboard, guys. There's nobody boarding anything. Without writing, there's no storyboarding, there's no directing, there's no lighting, there's no cinematography, whether it is in live action or animation. Well, in animation is more flexible, but in live action, script is the order of the day. Like that's why right now people are saying, I heard that Hollywood has started opening up the doors for spec scripts. So studios are buying spec scripts again. I don't know if you guys know what a spec script is. Spec script is a script that somebody writes and is a complete story. Like they write a feature film, 120 pages, 100 to 150, to 150 pages, and they sell it. The studio just buys it like that, and then they hire a director to work on it, to direct it, hire all the people to work on that stuff. They create the film, they market it, and all of that. So a spec script. But guess what? You see that spec script, without that script, they are not hiring any director, they're not hiring anybody. That's how important the script is. So, with these few points of mine, I'm saying it once again, that writing is the future. And when I say writing, I'm saying writing in the future because even ChatGPT is not going to save the day for anybody who does not, like, let's not fold our arms and say we're going to wait for ChatGPT to catch up. My brother, ChatGPT is only going to give you, like I said, it's only going to give you average. ChatGPT is only going to give you what is popular. It will take what is popular, generally interpolate all these things together and spit it out to you. It's not going to, you need to be able to tap into that, your psyche, your philosophical part, this philosophical part of you, and tell stories that move people, that is authentically you. Nobody can replicate. Like if you write words, nobody else is going to write the words the same way you write it. That's how unique writing is. So I feel like I've gone on this long monologue on writing, on the importance of writing, but I hope you guys caught on to it. Story is based on everything we do as artists. It drives everything. The best character designers, for example, are good storytellers. Story is what makes your design. Yes, story is actually what makes your design make sense. It's what makes your design make. Without story, your character design, because you can design anything. This is what I keep doing. The master class I just finished last year. I had this problem with students. Like they'll create, they'll go like I'll give them assignments and then they'll come back with the finished work, and I'll look at the design. I'll look at the shape language. I'm like, did you just take a random? You just took random shapes and put them together to do this. That's not how it works. Everything has to be motivated. There's a reason why it's called character design, not character creation. If not, we can create anything. I can make a character that you can hire me for a show, or for a show that is set in a world like Dune, and then I can decide to just take carpet grass and wear on the person's head and give the person raffia leaves to tie around their waist. I can do anything I want. I can create anything I want. But we're not just creating anything we want. It has to make sense. And a story that guides that character to make sense. That's why you have directors or character design supervisors who will look at what you're doing and tell you, no, this does not make sense. Go back. Do it like this, like do it like that. This does not make sense at all. So story is what guides everything. I think it's a make the money quick or corporate greed type of problem. It's the same issue plaguing the AAA game industry. Impressive graphics, very weak. So yes, my guy, like I just see this thing happening every time. Like, why it's you have the great, like the best looking stuff, but with bad storytelling. Like very, very shallow storytelling. I'm like, what's going on? This is an opportunity. Like, I don't care how big your studio is, bro. I'm not scared of I can take on any studio like this when it comes to storytelling. I'm not scared of any studio. I'm not intimidated by any studio. If you give me your story, and I can tell, and this is something that I kind of have that skill. I can watch it. I watched the trailer of the Joker when it came out. When did the Joker come out? I think like 2021 or 2022. I watched the trailer of the Joker and I knew that that thing was going to win an Oscar. I knew. I knew that Joaquin Phoenix's performance was going to win an Oscar. I knew it. I kind of have that. When I watch something, I know if that thing is going to do, like, I know if the thing is going to do very well. Because, I mean, we artists, an artist, an artist can identify another artist. Like, as long as you're an artist, you have the artistic mind, you can identify a very excellent artistic work. It's not hard to identify. So, one begets another, you know. So if something is great, you can tell if it's going to be great. Like, and we look at all these things happening now. Man. Anyway, like I said, it's an opportunity. Let's not sleep on it. And the results are evident. No matter how good looking a content is, if it lacks substance, people will feel nothing and easily forget. Yes. Most of the stuff that are created nowadays are forgettable because there's no soul. And like I said, people have joked about how some of these shows nowadays is like ChatGPT is writing it, because you can't write a great story, like I said, in less than a year, in a reasonable amount of in a short time. You need time. You need time to tap into that your soul, the soul of the story. It needs time, and writing is a process, as creativity generally is. So you might start with an idea, and then when you get to the end of this, when you after the 2 years of writing, you realize that what I have at the end is a much purer and focused version of what I had in the in the initially, but it's nothing. It's not necessarily close to it. Like it's not a replica of what I had in mind, because it's a process. As you're writing, you begin to realize that there are certain hurdles that you cannot jump over without understanding yourself. You must confront the fear. Like you see, bro, like writing is fun. It's fun. It's scary also at the same time, because you get to a certain point and you're like, man, how do I solve this problem? There's a huge problem in front of me. But you can't cross over without finding yourself, like questioning yourself. as to whether that thing is really important to you. So you might be writing a story about a certain thing, and then it gets to a point where you're like, am I even sure that this thing I thought was the altruistic, or the altruistic, the truth of the story, or the truth of this thing? Am I even sure that this is actually the truth? You begin to question yourself. And until you get to that point where you question yourself and you have genuine answers coming out, your story is not going to move for, like, it's not going to move the needle. That's one of the reasons why when I watch Nigerian shows, man, I'm like, I really want to, like, I watch it with the intent of, I want these guys to succeed. I want to see how this thing is going to make sense. But when it gets to a point, you're like, I know this person did not put this effort. This person did not bear their soul. They did not open themselves up. And it's like a portal. Like, for you to be able to tap into that side of yourself, it's almost like a portal for you to open yourself up to. But that level of vulnerability as a writer is really difficult to most people. They are not able to. Some people are not even aware it exists. And I feel like most Nigerian shows, like the writing, they're not aware that that thing exists. But the ones that are aware, they fight it a lot. It's either they fight it, or they're not patient enough to allow. And that's why I say it takes time. You need to be patient enough to allow, to bear your soul, to understand, to show what the real truth of this thing is, to bear your soul out. So ah, I'm just going on this long talk about story. I don't know, I'm sure you guys did not tune in to hear about story, but yeah, I'm that passionate about story. That's why when I watch films, man, I watch shows, I'm like, when I see a good story, I'm like, yes, this was worth my time. This person, I know this person, they put their self, like, they really gave it their all. Oh, but we're all gonna get there. We're all gonna get there eventually. So, but just so you know what you're getting yourself into. Writing is not for the faint at heart, but it is the most superior form of, because I've drawn for many years, I've designed characters for many years, and even though I have created, an award-winning character, I don't think I've pushed, like, even in the process of creating that character. Yes, I did push myself. There was a lot of iteration, there was a lot of back and forth, but I don't think I found myself. I didn't find myself becoming vulnerable as much as I've had to become vulnerable in writing. I've designed many characters in my life. Like, I've drawn so many times, but in the process of drawing, I've never felt vulnerable. I've never felt the amount of vulnerability that I felt when I started writing. So that's why I say writing is, there's something deep about. There's something there's something crazy about it, man. But don't worry, when you guys start writing, you understand what I mean. And I think one of the reasons why, another reason why I think writing is so is superior, and really, because if you really search deep into your soul to find something, because that thing came from a place of depth and truth, it's something that will age well. Like, somebody would watch your stuff like 50 years from now, and they'll be like, yo, man, this thing. That's why I like to watch a lot of old films. Like, I even prefer old films to recent films. I prefer watching films like Psycho, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Like, this type of films, you see so much depth and truth in. in the storytelling. Then writers cared about, now it's, I don't know, maybe it's probably all about money or survival. But then those guys wrote for the love of the crafts, and they created some, timeless stuff. But anyways, we're gonna get there. It's only a matter of time, and will be celebrated too. And for writing too, you need an accountability partner, because you need someone to be able to tell you like if this thing is good or it's not good. Because sometimes when you write, you just get lost in the craft that you're not able to you're not able to see clearly. You need someone to be able to look at your stuff and ask you questions. Oh, why is this character like this? Why did they do this? Why? But when the story has no questions, then I think that's gotten to a point where you're like, yes, the world needs to see this. Or if your story still has questions, but you need, some level of expertise to be able to know those questions. Because if you don't know the questions, then yeah, talk is very necessary. Sometimes my friends and I will jump on a call, do studies, and the whole thing will sound a lot of something interesting. Yeah, yeah, necessary. We need to know why we're doing what we're doing. All stuff is gold. Yeah, all stuff is gold, man. They were created in a time where, I mean, there was always capitalism, but it wasn't like today, man. I watched one movie and I was like, yo, I went back to look for old Academy Award winning films. And when you watch those films, you know that, man, these guys, like, what were they on? Like, I watched this movie recently. I watched, okay, not recently, but a while ago, not too long ago. The Piano. Yo, I watched that film. I'm like, what? How did he think about this thing? Even there's also another movie that's not too old. It was in the 90s. What's the name of that film? Oh, I remember the name of the film. It's a very popular film. The Truman Show. Yes. Man, if you've not seen The Truman Show, you need to watch that film. Because that film was like The Matrix. The Truman Show. Those were like culture shaping movies. Even The Matrix. The Matrix is a culture shaping movie. Which recent movie now can we say is a culture shaping movie? Which movie? Like which movie can we equate to a Matrix? And when I say equate, I'm not talking about, action sequence, VFX. I'm talking about in terms of seeing something like almost like for the first time. Like almost seeing something or witnessing something because when we watched The Matrix, like, to be honest, when I watched The Matrix, I was thinking about the action because I was not matured enough like I am today. Like I was watching The Matrix and I was thinking about how this guy was dodging bullets. Like, who's this guy dodging bullets? And that thing was so cool. But as I grew up and started seeing The Matrix come up over and over again in politics, in political discourse and commentary, I was seeing The Matrix. I'm like, so this film was deeper than just the action. I thought it was just the action of dodging bullets. The film was like, that's the kind of thing we're talking about. That film aged so well, and it's still aging. Like, it's not even, it's well, it's not aging, but it's still timeless. The film is aging so well, like it's timeless, because everything happening in society today is still based on that Orwellian society that the Matrix is based off of. Like the Matrix is Black Mirror on steroids, and this was like, Matrix was, I think it was released in 1999 or so. This is Black Mirror on steroids, man. That movie I like a lot, that people don't talk about, like people don't really talk a lot about, is Titanic. I like Titanic. There's a time I used to be worried about saying I like Titanic, because I'm like, man, these guys are going to think I'm a CC or something. But man, maturing is realizing that a great film is a great film, and that film is fantastic. Like, people doubted it because they're like, how are you going to create a film that is, we already know what the end of the film is about? But he defied all the odds and proved to them that, yeah, you know the end, but the emotional journey is really what a movie is about. And James Cameron proved it to them, proved it to everybody. Yeah, I think this is the last one I'm gonna do, because I need to cut down my time on my streaming time, so I can spend time with my family, and so that I don't get to stress myself too much, so I can manage my time. You love the movie? Which one? Is it The Matrix? I think it's The Matrix you're referring to. Oh, The Matrix was fantastic, man. But if you've not seen The Truman Show, you need to watch it too. The Truman Show. That film is so good, man. There's a movie that came out recently. It's called. It's on Netflix. It's called The Reap. I was watching The Reap and I was like, The Reap is very similar to LA Confidential. If you've seen LA Confidential, I think it was in '97. I watched LA Confidential not too long ago. I think it's a '97 movie. Let me really check. Let me quickly check that. LA Confidential. Yeah, LA Confidential is a '97 film. Yo, if you've watched LA Confidential, you know that the rip is a rip-off. Like, the rip is not even, like, LA Confidential for me is like an 8.5 over 10. The rip is like, the one that was recently released. It was like a to me it's like a 6.5, 7. And I could tell, that from a mile from a mile away, that this was the plot twist. I mean, I couldn't tell everything was the plot twist. No spoilers. I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but yeah, to some extent, I could tell that, that they were trying to set up something for that would happen later in the story. So it was quite easy to read. But when I watched LA Confidential, I'm like, yo, these guys, they did a plot twist in a film in the 1997. Like movies like Fight Club. Well, I don't think Fight Club is that old. Fight Club, um, Sixth Sense. Like, you see movies like that, and the plot twist is so good. I'm like, yo, you guys thought about this plot twist way back in the 90s? How? And movies these days are not able to pull off plot twists like this. So yeah, I think stories, like, there's a huge gap. Anybody who is not taking advantage of story like who is not upping their story game for the for in preparation for the future of storytelling we're getting into is already snoozing because it's happening. The opportunity is right here for, and if you don't take advantage of it, it's your loss. There's a huge opportunity there. Huge opportunity. Oh, Titanic. Yeah. Yeah, Titanic is a great film. Oh, it's a great film. Great film. But I was shy to say that I liked the film. At some point, I was like, I hope it won't look weird. I'm saying I like Titanic because I thought because we had this impression then that it's mostly ladies that would like Titanic when I was young. So I never told anybody I like Titanic. But yo, I watched that film. I think about 3 years ago again. I'm like, man, this film is good. Like this film is good. If only we could make films like that again. And I don't think that there is a I don't think that there is a I don't think that there's a fatigue, a cinema fatigue or superhero fatigue and all that stuff people are seeing. I think it's just bad storytelling, like because people are just studios are just after money. They don't really want to put in the time and the efforts to hire writers and develop fantastic stories. I mean, look at animation. If you, even in animation, look at stories like Toy Story, the original Toy Story, fantastic. Or is it Wall E? Like Wall E is so good. When you look at animation today, like seriously, they're not really putting the effort again. And I wish. So yeah, I'm gonna say it again for the umpteenth time, guys. Go figure out how to write. Go and figure out how to write. Don't wait for ChatGPT. Figure this thing out because writing is what's like great IP with fantastic writing is what's going to set you apart in within the next 10 to 20 years. It's a huge opportunity. Yeah. So think about it, guys. Think about it. This is my last drawing, by the way, so I'm not doing any more drawing. I need to be smart with my time this year. And I also want to be more intentional and spend my time with my family. So I don't think I'll be able to do up to 2 hours again. I'll be doing like maybe 90 minutes at most. 1 hour to 90 minutes. And doing more talking. Because I also want to engage you guys. For me, it's not just about drawing. It's about coming. It's about forming meaningful connections with you guys. So Oh, Jeffrey, happy to balance you in this. Yo, guys, if you're not following Jeffrey, you're snoozing, man. Jeffrey's a great artist. Like, he's one of the greatest character designers from Africa, man. Trust me. Like, I don't flatter people. To be honest, I actually don't flatter people, and people that know me, like Jeff, they'll tell you I don't flatter people. Like, I even like I share people's post. Like, I like to promote, other artists, but the reason why I don't do a lot of promote, like why I don't post a lot of people's art is because I don't think it's strong. But Jeff is the kind of person that almost everything he posts, I can repost it. Like, his work is that good. So, and I say that to say, just so you know, that I don't flatter people, because even though I want to promote artists, I don't post everything I see out there from character designers, from character designers. So I am very careful with what I share. I'm very intentional about what I share. So Jeff is one of those people that, man, this guy's work is consistently good. And by the way, he's available for hire, I believe. So if you guys want to hire him, you can DM him and take the conversation from there. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna color this thing too much, just to be like this. So yes, let's do something. Let's make 26. I mean, I'm not it's not about New Year resolution or anything, but let's do something in 2026. Let's up our writing game. Let's make that conscious effort to up our writing game. Let's learn about writing. I can recommend books for you if you're interested. Just let me know in the chat, and I'll recommend books for you to read. When you read books on writing and then you watch shows, you start to see everything, and all of a sudden it's like that moment of realization that, yo, I can actually do this thing these people are doing. Like, I see, like, I can deconstruct their story. If I can deconstruct their story, I might as well be able to write it. So yeah, yeah, no problem, Jeff. Jeff is very good. Yeah, so this is the last sketch I'm going to do, because I'm trying to redeem the time this year. Trying to be more, I don't want to work myself out too much. So I'm 40 now, by the way, and I mean, it's not about the age thing, because I I think I'm youthful at heart, but yeah, um, as you get older, your priorities start to change a little bit. Finally watched Eyes of Wakanda, and I really enjoy seeing transitional design. Oh, thank you very much. It Edu, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I wish I knew your real name, but thank you very much, bro. Yes, guys, I also forgot to tell you that I actually got my award in the mail last week. It's behind me. Look behind me, you can see it on the shelf. So I finally got my award. It took a while. Nigerian mailing system is very slow, but I finally got it. love hear some of your recommended resources for getting my yes. Oh, your name is Edwin. Nice to meet you, bro. Edwin. Yeah, so let me bring the books so you see them. Hold on. Oh, sorry, I want to get the books. There should be one here. Okay, it's not there. All right, so I'm going to show you all the books. Okay, these are not all the books, but these are some of the books I read on writing. So these are some of the books I read on writing. So this one, let me show you. I've read all these books, and this one on the left, The Structure of Story. This one. This was the first book. This was the first book I read. It's called The Structure of Story. So you can check this one out. I bought all these books on Amazon, by the way. So The Structure of Story, I think that's the one that I recommend you read first. And then, hold on. And then the next one I read John Truby's book, The Anatomy of Story. This one, The Anatomy of Story. In that order. Like I'm telling you the order I read these books. And then the next one I read was this one, The Art of Dramatic Writing. Yo, you see this book? This book is very dense. Like, this book is really, really dense. Like, when I say dense, I mean in terms of like it's almost like undiluted because the book is old. Like I think it was published in 1970s or something. Let's see. This book was published in 1970. Yes. Actually, copyright 1942, 1946. So it's a really old book, 1940 something. So this book was very, very dense, like very dense. So when I say dense, I mean the concept of it's almost took like a theatrical approach to writing. So his references and his case studies were based on theatrics, like theater, But I learned a lot from that book because I got to realize that, storytelling transcends different forms, whether it's theater, film, or whatever. He didn't give any references in this book on live action or anything related to film, like movies. He actually gave references based on theater. So that's play, stage play. When I say theater, I mean stage play. So, but the principles are the same at the end of the day. And it was very dense book. Like it took me a long time, and I'm a very slow reader generally. So it took me probably like 2 or 3 months to read that book, this one, because it was really dense. I was reading fast with all the other ones. I mean, I'm generally a slow reader, but I read relatively faster. I read the other books relatively faster than that one. This is the one I'm referring to, The Art of Dramatic Writing. This book. It took me longer to grasp it. Then the next book I read was The Writer's Journey. The Writer's Journey. This one. So the writer's journey. The writer's journey is, so Christopher Vogler is a prodigy of what's the name of the guy that did the hero's journey? He's a prodigy of the guy. So he took the approach, he took that guy's approach and used it to develop his own writer's journey. So it's still based on the original hero's journey, but he broke it down a little bit more. So yeah, that book, very good book as well. In fact, in this book, I learned, and the way I write, I actually like mark, like I mark the books. So in fact, I feel like this my books. I'm going to like. I feel like these books that I have, because of how I mark them and write notes in between, I feel like the value of the book has gone up, because in maybe 30 years time somebody might look at these books and be like, oh, this was the original book by this guy and he marked it, and this were his notes and stuff. So anyway, that's by the way. Yes, I also want to say that in this book, I like this book a lot, The Writer's Journey, because I learned something towards the end of the book about the chakra, like how to write with chakra. Like, bro, he taught, like he outlined the 7 chakras and pointed out how to write with chakra. Like, I'm like, what? When I saw this thing, I'm like, I'm going into yoga stuff and meditating stuff. I didn't know that writing was this deep, And when he started breaking it down, like, yes, I understand it now. So you can actually structure your story to hit certain chakras in terms of emotional beats. As the person is watching, someone is watching your story, you're hitting different emotional beats for those stories. And like, bro, it was an eye opener for me. Then the next book I read was The Anatomy of Genre by the same John Truby, the same guy, John Truby. Yo, this book is thick, as you can see. This book is like 700 pages. It took me a minute, like it took me like maybe 4 months, because I'm a very slow reader. It took me, and I like to I like to understand concept of things, like principles. I'm not really interested in just reading a book, like skimming through. I read this book, all these books, I read them to underline everything, like to understand the concepts. And bro, this book opened my eyes to understanding genre. Like, this guy broke down genre to the minute level, like to the minutest levels. And I learned how to, like, how all these different genres. In fact, he even ordered, like, he actually structured the book in a way where he started from the least significant genre to the most significant genre. And the list was horror. So he started from horror, and then he went this way clockwise and ended up at love. I think there are a total of 14 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah. So there are 14 genres he wrote about in this book. He started from horror to love. And I learned a lot about how, like, love is, um why he considered love to be the most superior form of genre compared to the other ones, and why horror is the lowest. And I understand why horror is not so deep, and what makes, yeah, most horror films are usually surface level in terms of, like, they hardly have internal conflict that is very compelling. So after that book, the next one I read was, I don't know which one I read first. I think I probably read this one first. I read Writing for Animation. So I read this book, and let me tell you guys, see, to be honest, I read this book and I was like, this book is so diluted compared to, because I had read all these other ones before I read this book. So when I read the book, Writing on Animation, I was like, yo, this is like so watered down. Like, it was so watered down for me. And yeah, it wasn't a very pleasant. So I was like, yo, I could, of course, I still got to mark some parts of the book, because I usually get to mark like really important points. I got to mark a few parts of the book, but for the most part, it wasn't like, I didn't feel like I was learning anything new. Like, I knew most of the things that were in this book, so it wasn't a very, like, it didn't really expand my thinking. It wasn't expansive. Then the last book on the list that I read is advanced screenwriting, raising your script to the Academy Award level by Dr. Linda Segar. Yo, this book, and funny enough, this book is old. Like, I read the book and I realized that most of the movies she was referencing were from the early 90s slash late 80s, because the book is really old. Let me see. I think this book was published in, this book was published, hold on. Oh, 2003. So yeah, it's not that old. 2003. It's not that old, but she was referencing mostly like Academy Award films from 19 late 90s, late 80s to 90s. And yo, I learned something in this book that I actually used to write my story, and I'm like, yes, it was like, man, it was a fantastic experience. So these are some of the books. I hope you guys took down notes. If you want to get these books, they are all on Amazon. And yeah, you need to position yourself for writing, my guys. Like, you have to be ready for the new age of intellectual property that is coming, where writing is going to be king. Like, writing is going to be superior, because we've gone past, like, we're wrapping up the age of reboots and sequels and stuff. We're now going into the level where new stories are being adopted. Because if you I don't know if you guys follow trends, or if you're aware of what's happening in Hollywood. Spec scripts are now being bought again in Hollywood. So for you to be able to position yourself for that future where intellectual properties are going to rise again, from the ashes. If you want to position yourself for that new age, man, you have to be prepared, and you have to read about writing. You have to learn how to write. I know this is a book, this is a stream on character design, but trust me, man, character design and story, they are very much related. All the characters I've designed, including the ones for Eyes of Wakanda and most of the shows that I'm not allowed to talk about, is still about writing. Because if I didn't understand how to interpret those characters from the scripts, of course they gave me descriptions of those characters as separate briefs, but I needed to be able to interpret those characters in their story, in their specific story world, you know. So I hope I've been able to pass something across. At this point, I think I'm done with this. I'm done with this design. I don't want to spend any more time on this stuff, so that I can run off. Yes, so I always show up every week, same time, every Fridays. By the way, I'm thinking of ending these live streams because I'm not really getting as much traction. I know YouTube, YouTube tends to favor people who are very consistent. So I try to be consistent. Like, this is my 22nd video. It's not very inspiring, not very motivating, but at least I know there are a few people here who show up every week. So I mean, if I'm doing this for one person, it's more than enough. But at the same time, so I also have to evaluate and value my time, and be honest with myself. Like, you know, is this really productive? Like, am I really, am I really fruitful with this endeavor? If I'm not fruitful with this endeavor, then I probably would have to wrap it up. So yes, I'm just letting you guys know that I'm thinking about ending the live streams. I'm actually actively thinking about it. So, but I'll do it. Like, if it's going to be my last stream, I'll definitely let you know. Like, it's being the title. Like, this is my last live stream or something. But yeah, that's it. That's it. Look at Denis Villeneuve Dune. Damn near masterpiece, but it wouldn't be as great as it is without Frank Herbert's world building. Yes, from like 60 years ago, exactly. I mean, it was the direct inspo for Star Wars. Exactly what I'm saying, bro. That's exactly what I'm saying. Thank you, Deji. Yeah, Star Wars, like, dude. the writing of Dune if the writing of Dune of how many years ago that Frank Herbert wrote is what this guy ran with to create the Dune that we saw today, like that's how show you how powerful writing is, man. Writing is so good. We need to take writing seriously. We seriously need to. That's the age we're getting into. The age of intellectual property, the rise of new intellectual property that the world hasn't seen. Not the old ones, not the reboots and the adaptations and all of that stuff. I mean, adaptation is still kind of new to some extent because some adaptations have not lived or in a certain format. That's why transmedia, understanding transmedia is really important, and hence why I would refer you to this book. So, this book is called You're Gonna Need a Bigger Story by Houston Howard. I read this book way back in like I read this book way back in like 2020 during the pandemic. And if you want to learn about how to develop story, like world building, how to not necessarily world building, but how to create intellectual property with intent that can live in different media, different forms, like with transmedia potential. So when I say transmedia, I said that earlier in this chat, in earlier in this live, that transmedia is you creating something, an IP that can live in different formats. It can live as a book, a graphic novel, a comic book, a TV series, an animation, live action, movie, games, in toys, franchise, merchandise. Like it can live in any format. Basically, that's transmedia. And when you read a book like this, like it opens up your eyes to understand the importance of transmedia. So yeah, with these few points of mine, I have to jump off. I've stayed longer than I anticipated because I want to be spending maximum of 90 minutes on live streams. Okay, so thank you guys so much for joining this week. I really appreciate your time, and I will see you next week, God willing. Thank you so much. Yeah, I have to type the messages because there's like a lag. It's almost like there's a 10-second lag or something. Well, yeah, thank you so much for your time. See you guys next week. Peace.